All right, welcome to the Next Level Life show. I Love Mars edition. I'm your host, Bill Hargenrader, creator of the Next Level Life and best-selling author of Mars Journey Call to Action. I'm here today with a very cool guest, Andrew Rader. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
All right, cool. I've been following Andrew for a while through some of his Kickstarter projects and through Canada's Greatest Know-It-All, but I got a bio here. I'm going to read through that, and then we're going to kick the show off. So Andrew is a SpaceX mission integrator with a PhD from MIT in human long-duration spaceflight. In 2013, he won Discovery Channel's #1 competitive television series, Canada's Greatest Know-It-All. Andrew runs Horizon Games, which designs tabletop card games, including Evolve, the Game of Unnatural Selection, and Politics, Bribes, Scandals, Strife, and Strategy. He has over 15 years of game design experience with Australian Design Group. Andrew is an author of Leaving Earth and a YouTuber with over 4 million views. I'm going to post all of Andrew's links to his YouTube channel and Twitter channel and Facebook page below this video, just so you know. He runs a personal Twitter account at Mars Rader, a science account at weird_sci, SCI, and a history account at weird_HIST. Find Andrew on Facebook at Facebook Rader Andrew, and let's get started right now. So first of all, Andrew, I'm a big Mars fan. Obviously, having an I Love Mars, Facebook page, and I'm doing interviews seriously. But for you, on a personal level, why has Mars captured your fascination and your attention?
Mars, I think, is the intermediate step that everyone forgets about. I think that in the long term, we're going to expand out into the galaxy if we don't destroy ourselves first. And I think that Mars is that place that we can get to today with our present technology. It doesn't require warp drives and faster than light travel. And we can start that process of figuring out how to live permanently off Earth. Mars is the only place we can get to that could sustain long-term human settlement. So, I mean, when I was young, I was really interested in Star Trek. And I thought it was great how they'd go and explore other worlds and meet the aliens. And when I kind of realized that we're not there yet, and we don't even really have a path to get there, it really requires breakthroughs. I mean, they have like the warp drive day when some guy just came up with warp drive. Hey, I measured it. But, it's kind of like this big black box warp drive just suddenly appears, right? Yeah. So now we can go and explore other stars. But without that big warp drive discovery, we're kind of stuck here. But here is really cool. Actually, here has hundreds of worlds that we can explore. There's not going to be aliens that look like humans and all speak English, but there are a lot of really cool places we can go today. If you study the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, Mars is probably the best destination. But there's tons of other places that have liquid water. I think there's 13 or places that have liquid water in our solar system, meaning they may have microbial life, but more importantly, they could support human life today. We have the technology to keep people alive in these environments. And I think that developing this civilization that is spread out throughout the solar system is the best way to innovate, to figure out how to eventually get to other solar systems, and to start that process of becoming a transgalactic civilization that would really fulfill all these dreams of science fiction.
Yeah.
And I think Arthur C. Clarke, in some of his books, he actually really goes into how the societies interact with each other. So there's kind of the Hermians, which are the people who live on Mercury, and they all have a different perspective on things, right? Like everything's really hot, right? They live on Mercury. They're humans who a couple hundred years ago left Earth and now live on Mercury. So this is totally possible. We could have aliens. We could have everything of science fiction within the realm of current physics. And I think that's the big point. People are expecting these giant breakthroughs in physics, and we're going to get warp drive. We shouldn't explore space until we get warp drive. Well, if you have that mentality, we're never going to get warp drive. The only way to get warp drive is to create incentives that drive the technologies to develop the things we need. You have to do what you can with what you have, or you're not going to do anything at all.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's what I love Star Trek myself. Kind of a late bloomer when it came to that. I started watching that, later in life. But the thing about Star Trek is it's further off in the future, and it's kind of it's an escape and it's fun, but it's also when we have things like near future sci-fi, things that are right around the corner, like that's actually a little bit more exciting. And we had Star Trek, I think, was really great in getting interest and people's motivated and like about maybe the concept of intergalactic travel and traveling within the solar system at a quick speed. But I like how the fact that now we're with a decade or so of actually or two of actually getting there. So we talk about personal level for you, and we talked a little bit about the show. We had a question about, I mean, how do we get kids and more people excited about Mars exploration? And I guess there's also the question of, is that something we should even focus on? I mean, maybe we should let people self-select. I mean, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think if we want to go to Mars as a species, we need to get people excited about it. It relies on support of a large number of people. Like something like Mars One, where they were trying to get $6 billion, is $1 per person on Earth. That's really not a lot. I mean, you can argue about whether the costs are appropriate and those kinds of things. But if everyone on Earth wanted to go to Mars, it would happen within the next couple of years.
Yeah.
You know? Like the fact is, maybe 10% of people on Earth care anything at all about space exploration, and maybe 10% of those people really seriously want to go to Mars, right? Something like that. And without a concrete plan, without a realistic vision that's going to happen in a pretty short amount of time, it's not really going to happen. I think it's like fusion power. It's always 20 years away. 50 years ago, fusion power was 20 years away. Yeah. And now it's still 20 years away. And I think it's kind of the exact same thing with Mars. You have to plan short term, or it's not going to happen. People have to see it being real, because there's a huge difference between these pie in the sky concepts of, oh, we're going to do this thing, and making huge legitimate progress towards actually doing it and having a laid out plan.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. There's actually also a good strata of people, because some people want to go to Mars. I myself am forbidden from going to Mars by my wife, but I'm still really excited and interested about helping get people to get there. So I think there's a way that you can kind of help people yourself select, saying, hey, like a Mars One, type of thing, saying these people that want to go, well, the people who want to help people get there, and then I think there's possibly some way that, I haven't figured it out quite yet, but we can all work together to make that happen, because not everybody actually wants to go. They just want to see the human species, evolve or take the next step at the next level of progress. And then actually I have a quote here from your book, which Leaving Earth, which is a quote: "If you want to build a ship, don't drum up people to collect wood, and don't assign them tasks and work, but rather teach them to long for the endless immensity of the sea." Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. And that's from your book, Leaving Earth. That's a beautiful quote. And so it kind of ties us into Leaving Earth. How much time did that book take for you to write? And what really, what made you decide one day, hey, I'm going to write this book?
Yeah, that was kind of a crazy year. So it was a year and a half ago. Full time, I was working on this bid basically to get to space. I was trying to win this contest to fly in space, and at the same time, this Mars One thing came along, and I thought it was a great idea, but I thought that not everyone agreed with that. So when I first heard about this Mars One thing on the Colbert Report,
okay,
and my thought was, yeah, that's actually a really great idea, but no one else will think that, right? So I'm the only one who thinks it's a good idea. So I felt like I'm going to sound like a crazy whack job for suggesting that this is a good idea, but I actually kind of believe that it is. So I should just go for it, and I should just speak my mind and say what I really think is true, because now I don't think that's the only way to do it, maybe not even the best way to do it, but I think it is a good, legitimate way to do it, because getting to Mars is something that I think you really just have to kind of do, jump in the water, right? And then it creates the incentives that will drive the technology. People say, oh, we need these better propulsion systems, we need to solve all these problems. Well, I don't think that's really true. There are short-term problems. I'm not saying we're ready to go today, but I don't think we need to have the Battlestar Galactica spaceship that goes to Mars and has these self-deploying colonies already and stuff like that, right? We're never going to get to that point unless we actually just kind of get our feet a little bit wet, like starting with sending people even just around the planet on orbit, because that would show at least people can survive there and back. I mean, we've had people in space for longer than it takes to get to Mars. So this idea that people won't survive that kind of journey is crazy, apart from the radiation environment, which is different in deep space. But it's not lethal in deep space, apart from the solar flares, which we can shield against. So it's a kind of like when NASA was coming out for their recommended dosages for long-term spaceflight, they set their level at 1/5 of the recommended level for deep space travel, which actually assumes some risk. Their level of risk, their level of radiation dose tolerance is about the level, it's less than a nuclear worker, it's 1% of fatal cancer in the next 20 years. It's kind of the level where there's not really a whole lot of risk involved, which is good for routine operations. You don't want to take major risks for routine operations. But for, the first time we're going to a new planet, I think it's worth taking a little more risk on that front. Yeah, we need to shield from floating flares and stuff like that. But Curiosity results showed that the level of radiation you would take is about equivalent to 1 career dosage of an astronaut. So a couple trips to the space station, right?
Yeah.
Which is high, but not going to kill you right away. So anyway, I think I went off tangent there.
No, that's good. That's good, because I mean, it would just, it's making me think. I mean, people still choose to smoke in this day and age, and drink heavily in this day and age.
Take away their cigarettes and
exactly. Get rid of that and just go to Mars.
Increasing their lifespan by sending to Mars. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's the one book that you're working on. I know you got one coming out. Can you tell us a little bit about that MC Longneck's Epic Space Adventure?
Yeah, so this is a book for kids. It's about a giraffe-astronaut, so a giraffe in space, and a robot sidekick, Sputnik. So they go and explore the solar system. And I guess the idea behind this book is, I think they learn about the planets in school, so they can name all the planets, right? And that's kind of the end of it, end of lesson. So Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, etc. They learn all the planets, and then they kind of just have this useless knowledge for the rest of their lives for no reason at all, right?
Yeah.
It's just like these things. It's like no one has ever. Well, people who look through telescopes can really see Saturn, but the average person never looks through a telescope and they've never even seen Saturn. It's like a concept to them. It's Saturn is a planet because squares exist or something. It's just this weird concept, right? But people never think about the moons really very much. And the moons are the most interesting places when you start getting way out there, right? And Titan and Ganymede and Europa, Io. So I think that the idea behind the book is to try to present the solar system as a really interesting place, because it really is. People think that, we're never going to, it's not worth going to space until we can go to another star. That's really not true. We're not going to find aliens until we go to another star, unless they come here. But the solar system is an extremely interesting place, really varied place to visit and to eventually settle and develop a whole solar system economy, solar system-based economy. We're exporting water from one place and importing raw materials from another place and things like that, right? I think that the trick is Earth is a horrible place to start a space program because it has a ridiculously large gravity well. It's much worse, of course, because it doesn't even have surface. But if you started a space program on Mars, or if you started it on the moon or something like that, not that I really advocate lunar settlement right away, but it's actually a much better place to start. If you are sitting on an asteroid, you have to be careful not to jump off into space. It'd be so easy to send a rocket from one asteroid to another asteroid, or from an asteroid to Mars. Relatively speaking, that is insignificant, right? Like the challenges involved in intersolar system transport, once you get away from Earth, are actually pretty minimal. Right? We can have a pretty good intersolar system economy going today. Once you just got to get away from this planet.
No, I'm gonna pick that up. I find that a lot of the books, Pascal Lee, the president of the Mars Institute, wrote a book like for kids on getting to Mars, and I read the book. It's awesome. So I'm gonna pick your book up when that comes out, just to read through, because I find that kids are so smart, and the way that they're written to, like I'll read stuff and just pick it up and like, I'm learning stuff right from this book, versus if I had a book that was meant for adults and like bores the tears out of me. So definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Move on to books and influence, and any books in your past that you read growing up, fiction, nonfiction, that you think may have had an influence on you, as far as
I think more TV series in terms of Star Trek is a huge influence on me for sure. Books. Okay, so Arthur C. Clarke, definitely, because the whole solar system economy. That's when I kind of realized Hammer of God, and there's a number of Fountains of Paradise, and what is it, Children's End or something. Arthur C. Clarke has a lot of really good hard sci-fi books, which so Star Trek kind of teaches you to dream, or other sci-fi books where it's just kind of out there fighting aliens or something like that, right? Star Wars kind of teaches you that space is cool, right? Arthur C. Clarke kind of teaches you that space is possible, So it's realistically presented in technologies that we can imagine today. In Star Wars, you need hyperdrive, right? But today, Arthur C. Clarke, they just go around with engines that we basically have. They have to stop the refueling station on Io and stuff like that, right? And they don't have gravity unless the spaceship spins. They have hyper-intelligent helper monkeys, which are genetically engineered for space travel because monkeys are really efficient in space and can move around really easily, right? So they have like a trained crew of monkeys, which I thought was really cool. So I did a parody video on that, talking to hyper-intelligent space monkeys, because it's kind of like 2001. I called it the successor to 2001. Anyway, so I think Arthur C. Clarke hard sci-fi had a really big influence on me because it teaches you that space is really possible today.
Yeah. Very cool. So keep an eye on time here. I want to make sure we get through some of these the items. I want to talk a little bit about Horizon Games and a lot of projects going on, books and work and things of that nature. How did you get started making games? Is it a passion of yours? Can you tell me more about it?
Yeah, I started making games when I was about 6 years old. I don't know if you're familiar with Axis and Allies.
Oh, yeah.
But it's considered kind of the most complicated war game there is, in a sense, for, I guess it's sold at toy stores even and things like that. But when I was about 6 or 7 years old, I used to play that a lot. And I brought it to my grandmother's place and I played it with my brother. So I was really into that. And then I was like, okay, I'm kind of bored with this. So I tried to make all my own maps, and I tried to mod the game to like a much more complicated game, right? And then I got really into history and started reading about Napoleon. And this friend said, hey, you should play this Napoleon game because it's kind of the most complicated game ever, and you get to like even customize your own units and things like that. So I thought that was great. And then he showed me that there was a World War II game, which was pretty much what the game that I was trying to make when I was 6. It was, everything in World War II. It was 8,000 different pieces, and you get to play on giant tables, and it takes like 2 weeks to play, and you go to conventions and play for 10 days, 12 hours a day, stuff like that. It's like the most immersive game you could possibly imagine. And that's what I really got into. It's called World of Flames, and it's from Australian Design Group, and eventually I met the designer and started making my own expansions for it. So I have a couple of those, and I'm really into that. Actually, I'm releasing another game, World War I game, which is a version of that for World War I in December this year. So I got super into like giant strategic war games. On the computer as well, Paradox, like they have a lot of good historical ones, like Hearts of Iron and Europa Universalis. Awesome game. So those kinds of things. So really immersive strategy games. But, and I had this passion for making games. I really kind of understand how they work, and I like modding them and wanted to make it. But I kind of also realized that people don't really play these games. Like maybe 10,000 people in the entire world that play World of Flames, which is, I think, it's the best game in the world. But most people don't really have the attention span or the desire to play a game like that at all. So most people play Euro style games, party games that take an hour, card games, stuff like that, right? Games you're getting into. So I wanted to make some games that were, I think, fun, interesting, captured what I liked about games, but were also accessible. So I started making, actually, the first one that I actually did, Evolve, started as a conversation. My sister-in-law, she used to work at a zoo, and she always got this question, which would win a fight, a bear or a lion, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, hey, that's kind of like interesting. That's what every little boy wants to know. And we kind of I had this conversation with one of my friends about, what would happen if we kind of like mixed and matched animals and saw like what they could do with different attributes. Like you put a bear claw together with like a chameleon tail and like give them different attributes of different animals, and it sounded like a cool idea and pretty simple to do. So that's what we did. And actually, I'd had this space game on the back shelf for a long, long time, and I still do. The problem is, I keep trying to make it easy enough to be accessible and to play quickly, and then it becomes less interesting to me. So, because I really like really complex, elaborate games, but no one wants to play those. So, I'm trying to balance that one off. But I also have the back shelf this politics game, which because of the election cycle, I thought was a really good time to do it. And it's kind of like the Daily Show in the game. I really like American politics in the sense that it's really interesting. It's sort of like a cartoon. It's a lot of action and it's a lot of scandals and stuff like that. So great concept for a game. So that one has been really good. I think that was actually the most fun.
Yeah, I actually backed you on that game, and it's on our shelf. We're going to get to it. I promise.
Awesome.
My wife and I actually watched the greatest know-it-all series after we backed that game, and then we saw Andrew Rader, greatest know-it-all. Like, what is this show? And we started we found episodes of the show. That's a really awesome show.
Yeah, it is. They should have it in Canada. They're actually exporting it, or they should have it in the United States.
I know, they really should.
Yeah, they're exporting it to Sweden. But I think the problem is in the United States, everyone's kind of a know-it-all. So
yeah. But being on that show, what was so you man, like what was what's kind of going on behind the scenes? I mean, do you just used to the people filming you over time, or like what's kind of going through your head? Like you're in a house, you solve this mystery, do you forget about the cameras and just get in the zone, or like what's kind of going through your head?
Yeah, you have to ignore the cameras. But it's surprisingly real, actually. So I've heard from various other people I've talked to that some reality shows are really scripted, or they try to get you to influence, let's say. They get you to try to do certain things or say certain things or create artificial drama. But this one actually really wasn't. It was pretty real. I actually asked them, so what do you want us to do? Should we say anything in particular? And they said, no, just be yourself.
Awesome.
Okay. And I was the guy who tried to stay out of the drama, really. And so there was a fair bit of drama, but I wasn't really involved in it. And I guess I was kind of in the back picture until near the end, and then I started getting in the game a bit more. So
yeah, no, that was fun. It's really, I think they should have come out in the U.S. They probably are doing their marketing tests, and maybe it won't play well. But that was like one of the more inventive, ingenuitive series, and that would be cool to see.
It's kind of like Mythbusters, actually. It's a do everything. Even know-it-all isn't the right word for it, because it's not like a trivia show. It's a do everything show. It's build bridges and science things, and it's really like practical Mythbusters competitive style.
Yeah,
that's the best.
I would agree with that. I think the term know-it-all almost had a slightly, not negative, but like just, oh, you're a know-it-all, and it's like, no, you're kind of like, getting stuff done, using your brain to like solve problems.
Really.
To do it all, yeah. Cool. So moving along here, we're gonna go do a real quick Mars pop quiz, Mr. Know-it-all.
So I'm gonna ask you questions, right?
You're gonna, no, I'm not. So
do they get progressively harder?
What's that?
Do they get progressively harder?
There's only we're gonna have two of them. So this will be an easy one for you. We'll warm up. Length of the year for Mars and Earth days is.
So it's about 2 years. I don't know the exact number of days. 600 some.
Yeah, around 687.
Yeah.
And then the next one, the second one is, if I weigh 200 pounds on Earth, what would I weigh on Mars?
70, 72 pounds.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, I'm not good at pop quizzes. So if you ask me questions, I would be Googling on the side here, like, oh, good stuff. So I got some questions from the Isle of Mars group and from the Mars Society. So I asked them, I said, I've interviewed Andrew Rader. What questions do you have for him? I got one from Jeff Ferry. What do you think would be the biggest political hurdle to overcome to get to Mars?
Getting enough support that is behind that kind of mission. So in the space community, there's actually a lot of division about Moon or Mars or what should we really do, and even with the science community, is it worth sending people or not, that kind of thing. So getting the basis support in the science community is hard enough, but getting the basis support in the public in general is really tough. I mean, a lot of people say, why should we waste money to go to Mars and that kind of thing, right? So it's really tough to develop a consensus, build a consensus to do that. Especially in Congress, it was just hard to build a consensus on even the most obvious things. So,
yeah. I'm with you on that. Yeah, I got let's see. Rebel Dharma says or asks, what are your thoughts on Fermi's paradox? Where are all the aliens?
I actually have a video about that. It's called Life in Other Worlds, and it's 3 parts, and it tries to answer the question where are all the aliens, although it actually is kind of evasive because I don't know. I don't know the answer, but we do have some interesting data points. Like we know that depending on assumptions we make about their level of technology, there either are a lot or not very many or none at all alien civilizations of advanced technology in our galaxy. Those are based on SETI results, basically. So I think so there are definitely aliens. Whether aliens are microbes or not, there probably are aliens in our solar system in terms of microbes. I think there are probably more advanced aliens. But the thing is, evolution doesn't point towards intelligence, right? Like many other animals on Earth are perfectly successful without being intelligent. We don't really know if that next step from life to intelligence is a completely rare thing, like an aberration that really almost never happens, or not, because there's no humans obviously have done very well so far, but we've only been around for a short time, and we might wipe ourselves out, right? So it's hard to say whether that's going to be common in the universe. So I think it's a combination of two things: relative rarity. So even if there's lots of microbes, and I think there probably are lots of planets out there with, bacteria and stuff like that, and maybe even more complex animals like dinosaurs or something, but relative rarity of intelligence and technology, possibly relative rarity of them sustaining themselves for long enough to communicate or being interested, and also how fast do they develop. So if they develop really fast, they're going to be way past us in technology, and then who knows what happens next? What's the next step? What are humans going to be like in a million years?
True. Yeah.
And space is big, basically. I don't think people really comprehend how mind-bogglingly huge space really is. It's gigantic. And so aliens are really far away. That being said, even at sublight travel, so even if we can go at, say, Voyager speed, the amount of time you would have is so vast if you survive that you could colonize the entire galaxy in millions of years, which is the blink of an eye in the life of the galaxy, right? So presumably there's no aliens that are interested in us, that evolved before us, that were interested in colonizing the galaxy. Unless they colonized it by sending little spores to Earth and we're them.
Yeah, right. No, I love that. That's actually when I'm writing this fiction series about getting to Mars in the near future, and my wife, she's just like, I'm pretty sure we came from Mars, and we're basically going back to our home planet after we destroyed it. And I'm like, yeah, it's probably, may have happened. I got another question here from Ricky Weinberg. Anyone out there developing a Mars tractor? Now, I thought tractor beam at first, but I think they mean actually tractor for the Martian soil. I don't know if you know anything about that.
I don't know anything about that. No. There's a big difference between, this is something that also people don't really get. There's an enormous difference between like scientific research and actual engineering technology that is workable, right? So we presumably know how to do something, but then actually putting it into practice is a lot harder, right? And it's a huge difference. So I'm sure someone on the internet out there has sketches for a Mars tractor, but I'm pretty sure that no one's actually building a Mars tractor because we don't have an actual, tangible, well-developed plan to go to Mars and build a base. There's no point in having a tractor. So if John Deere is wasting money building a Mars tractor, I'd be very disappointed.
Yeah. Awesome, man. One more. This is from, hopefully I'm pronouncing this correctly, Matt Plicklick, Tekplatal, Navajo Nation. And he just says, Andrew, he's the best! Exclamation point.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. All right, cool. So we're going to wrap things up here. You got any final words for the viewers, or any next projects, anything that you want to, the floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you very much. Check out the games, newhorizongames.com. Check out the book on Amazon, Leaving Earth, and also very soon coming out, MC Longneck's Epic Space Adventure for kids. And let's go to Mars. Thanks very much.
Awesome. So we'll post all those links down below. Really appreciate your time today, Andrew. And then we'll see everybody on this video on the next video. All right, take care.
Thanks very much, Phil.